Welcome again to another episode of the Jay and Rob Toy Show. No funny quips to start this episode. Let me just bring in the man himself, Jay Hollywood Hogan. And I, of course, am Rob. I am Rob, the ultimate Meldo McCallum.
Got a few loose Marvel Legends, but I don't think that will be too exciting to show off at the end, do you? Oh, we're live? Oh, hi. Yeah, hey, what's up, everybody?
We're live.
I was just mumbling to myself in a toy coma haze thing.
It's been that kind of day, though. It's really been that kind of day. Let's talk about the weather, as we do with every episode.
Well, it's cold and rainy, and it didn't start to rain until I needed to get out of my car and enter the house, and then it poured. And I had to of course, I had to get groceries out of the car, and I mean beer, so I got soaked, but that's okay.
Lousy smarch weather. That's smarch. Oh my goodness. Cold, dreary. It's been overcast all day. Like the sun didn't dare not come out, which leads us, Jay, to our icebreaker. Of course, we are going to talk about the danger zone and dangerous toys and how we've had toy danger later this episode. But the icebreaker, brought to you by Retro Rags, Mock Masters, Heroes, Comics, and Cards, London, Ontario, and Big Bad Toy Store, is all about the weather. Since we're talking about the weather, what's the worst weather-related incident that's impacted your collection, my friend?
Oh my God, it happened when I messaged you February this year. It's when we had big time snow, and then it got warm really quick, and there was like this flash rainstorm. And because I didn't shovel the back patio quick enough, because it's snowing for 6 months, all of it leaked into the downstairs here. So there was water in the studio here, all like pretty far halfway through. Wasn't very deep, but yeah, I got up at 6 and I saw it, and I was like, I just had a freak out. But I got it under control, and it's something that I need to repair in the spring, but it's something that can't be done until the spring because it has to stay dry. So
I've been pretty fortunate when it comes to weather-related collecting incidents. Honestly, the only thing I can think of is our NES Clubhouse, where we took my treehouse and we put Nintendo Power posters and other magazines and collectibles in it.
What are you putting the extended ending up for? I watched that this morning. I was like, what?
How'd you feel about that? That's my next talking point, by the way.
You know what the great thing? It's a tragedy what happened in that clubhouse. It's a we're lucky we didn't get fried playing video games out in the tree. But I love seeing little Liam. Liam was less than a year old. He's only a few months old. So seeing him claw on him, he was really cute. Next time, say I want to get a Oasis haircut, please don't let me do that again.
I have tried to stop you from getting haircuts, but you are swayed by Huey Lewis's Power of Love from time to time. Cut your hair, babe. It'll look so good. Oh, you look so handsome.
It's not even that. Okay. It's just like,
yes, it is. Every time you've had to cut your hair.
Grow it back in, and then I'm like, I wonder if I could make it look like Liam Gallagher's a little bit. And it did. It was very jarring to see. I've had long hair for so long that I don't even remember what it's like.
You haven't cut it short since then, I don't think.
Yeah, and I never will again. So yeah, but seeing that, I was like, oh wow.
Let's say hi to everybody that's in the chat that's tuning in, of course. What's up, Lisa? You are almost first. I'm going to give you the points anyways. Ryan B saying hi. Cactus Jamie, he says the danger zone is very pleasant. Severus Snape is here, of course. Tater Show guy Nathan is watching. Kira, welcome. Upstate Johnny, of course. He just made it. He had to shut down a meeting early to make it. That's what the official. That's what the curator of the unofficial Action Figure Adventure Museum has to do to keep up his legacy status. I love it. Hugo, I think first time we've seen you on here, brother. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Cindy, how's it going? Dave Barrett, camera operator Dave. How are you doing, brother?
He's in the chat.
Checking it out. Silver Knight Kyle. Rhett is checking it out as well. And Upstate Johnny likes my Huey Lewis in the news comment. Yeah, you were talking about the extended ending of Nintendo Quest, one of many treasures that's gonna get released.
You call treasures, I call nightmares.
That's just because you haven't seen all the footage. Did you remember filming all that stuff?
You remember, like we used to take a lot of limo rides to go to concerts. It would
Yes.
be almost like putting, and we videotaped a lot of that stuff because you
Mhm.
and Chops, our friend Chops, had video cameras. Yours was better quality, of course. But
Well, there's nothing against Chops and his
VHS-C, maybe it would be
VHS-C.
like us putting on one of those old ones, and watching it privately would be fine. But I think showing the whole world might be a little embarrassing. Oh, how embarrassing!
Well, just so you know, that Nintendo Quest ending was on the Blu-ray for over 7 years now. So it's been out there for a while, just not shared with the new audience that is discovered. So there's a lot of good moments there. But more importantly, my friend, this upcoming Monday, March 28th at 8:30 p.m., you're going to start to see chapters of the real Nintendo Quest. Stuff that's only in the finished film for a minute or so, get like a 20-minute or so expose.
Cool.
To a video itself. So chapter 1 is the beginning. It focuses on day 1, visiting your friends. And that one's actually a little bit longer. I think that's a little over 30 minutes, but you get to see what it was like talking with Marie and Shannon, of course, Skylar, Mike Sillers, Joe Bonacia, and I think our good friend Zach Speed makes a little bit of a cameo near the end as well, offering some cards in exchange. He said, it might be my favorite part. He says, you know, what can I get for these? You're like, I don't know. How about $2? He goes, well, a sandwich is $2.50. Can I get? I just want to get a sandwich. So you trade them basically.
I remember coming to
you,
you, and I was very concerned with what this was going to cost me. And I'm like, is it okay if I ask, you know, some buddies, you know, if they want to maybe help donate and stuff? You're like, do you do what you got to do, what you think how this should unfold? So that's what I did. So yeah, the first day was me panhandling to my friends for video games, but
that's okay.
Yeah, it turned out
some
great.
good moments in there that I'm sure you've forgotten, as I had forgotten them until I rediscovered them. And then every week you will see extended versions of what happened in the film, visiting different stores around town and so on and so forth. Actually, I'll be honest, chapter 2 so far is one of my favorites because it's an extended look at our visit with the late great Sid Bolton. In the film, Sid gets about 2 minutes of screen time, and this gets to see him almost about 25 minutes of what it was like to visit his place. Of course, in recent years, Sid has passed away, so this is a great kind of fitting tribute to one of our first allies that we didn't know until we announced the quest, and quickly, you know, signed up for the ranks to help us. So I look forward to sharing that with the world.
Yeah, he was one of the greats. Not just in the video game community, but he was a good friend to both of us. And I hung out with Sid a lot. I did a lot of cons with him. I did a lot of panels with Sid. And yeah, he's just a great dude. And I did a lot of game nights at his place, I think 4 or 5. Went there and met some great people and played some great games. So yeah, tragedy.
Awesome. So be on the lookout for chapters of the real Nintendo Quest dropping every Monday for at least the next 4 weeks, and maybe more depending on how much time I get to dedicate to that, so you can see what it was like in an in-depth fly on the wall kind of way to see what Jay went through on his quest. Really interesting stuff, I think. Let's talk the auction, Jay. We had an item end this morning and a new one go live. What item ended and where did we end it at?
Starscream started at, I think, about 200, 230 and ended at a whopping 6 and change. Which
672,
I was like,
almost 700. Yeah.
The one I didn't think would do so well, to be honest, is Starscream. I underestimated one of my favorite Transformers. I'll never do that again. But yeah, it blew me away. So that's a nice chunk to Children's Health there. That's great. And a new buyer too. Although I think I saw Johnny bid a few times, I believe, in the history. I don't know if he was trying to go for it. And Nathan, I gotta say, man, I don't know what you're doing, but another one slips by.
Another one slipping by on.
But I want to shout out to Nathan and Cindy, because Nathan actually sent me a picture of the Sector Hive that he found in Texas toy show, and I was like, oh my god. He's like, dude, I'll get it for you if you want it. And yeah, I think it was
1,800 US.
I'm like, oh, I can't. But that was very kind of him. So thanks, dude, for looking out for me. That's one of my grails still. But it's nice to know that it actually exists.
It's out there. I told him the same thing. I said I've seen it like 3 times in my entire life, but I just can't pull the trigger on something like that. But speaking of Sectars, our next item up for grabs Is
I
what?
never heard of Sectars. What's that? Oh, that guy. Yeah. I say this every week, but I'm gonna say it again. Honestly, though, this time it's for real. Out of all the items that I don't want to get rid of, that's the one right there. This is Prince Dargon and the Dragonflyer. One I had complete as a kid. The Dragonflyer has gone bye-bye. I don't know where it went. I have a complete Prince Dargon, but he's missing his mount. So there it is right there. And this one in particular, all the toys that go along with the journey for season 2 have a interesting story, but this one in particular has got a really interesting story, and I can't wait for you guys to check that out in season 2 coming this year.
Now that another week has passed, you've had a chance to check out another episode of Action Figure Adventures Season 2. Any thoughts or things that you want to share about your revelations without giving anything away?
Yeah, it's really good. We start our trip. We haven't mapped out where we're going to go, and we're into the second episode, and the road trip really hasn't started yet. So there's a little hint as to just the excitement that we felt just on the very first day. And some great stuff happens. I can't say where, can't say when, but it's really, really good. It's a lot more. There's a lot more with Rob and I, which I've wanted for a long time. And you see Rob and I going back and forth in the car, just, talking about stuff. It's really cool. And so there's some emotions and some really nice items. Yeah.
Speaking of Action Figure Adventure, Season 1, if you're without a copy and you would like a signed copy from the entire production crew, not just Jay and I, but everybody else that worked on it, our good friends at Toy Power Podcast are running a bit of a contest for you. You can get your hands on a sealed, signed copy of Action Figure Adventure Season 1. Simply go to any Toy Power Podcast page. Let them know some cool kind of toy hunting story that you've got, how you scored an awesome collectible, what it meant to you, what that up and down emotional roller coaster was like, and you have a chance to win a copy of Season 1 in physical form, so you can put it on your shelf next to all your other dollies and feel so good about yourself, and extra good because it was once touched by our hands to sign it. It's pretty cool of them to do that contest.
It is. Those guys are great. Our buddies in Australia, and they're so passionate about toys. I mean, they're the Australian versions of us. They're very funny. They're very witty. They're sharp. They're up to date on all their news. Every episode is just chock full of
stuff. I can't get enough of the news because, I got to have the news in one more source, Toy Power Podcast. Thank goodness you're giving us the news that I don't see anywhere else.
Well, stay offline, you social media addict. That's not their fault.
I can't stop, Jay. I need the dolly juice. I need it.
Well, apparently Facebook's going down, so we'll see.
Well, whatever. No, I love what they do. And even when I'm the most burnt out on toys or some aspect of toy collecting, I find that listening to their podcast reinvigorates the collecting goodness and the toyetic fun of this hobby. But toys aren't always fun, Jay. Sometimes they're harmful and downright dangerous. This is the danger zone, my friend. Toys can be dangerous. Have you ever had some sort of danger-related issue when it comes to toys? Have you ever got hurt while playing because of a toy's design?
Oh, yeah. And I've hurt people with one specific figure.
You monster.
So before I get to the main one, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But I mean, dangerous toys. I'm thinking about Cops by Hasbro. I mean, cap guns. And I remember in a lot of the commercials, it shows them like you can really hear the cap, and the kid's like holding it up to his face. It's like popping his eardrum out. I like that. I like Transformers, how they're real metal. You can cut yourself on them and stuff like that. The toy that I would say I got hurt the most by was a Thundercats figure named Hammerhand, who had this great mechanism where you would put your index finger and thumb into his giant hammer hand, hence the name. And you could squeeze it like a gun, and he would grip the figure. But instead of doing that a lot of the time, I would just like slam him down like a hammer and smack. A lot of poor Joe's crotches got injured. I hate to say. But Hammerhand, yeah, I remember playing with our buddies, and they're trying to run away from Hammerhand, and a lot of times your hand gets caught. So I've smacked a few hands with Hammerhand.
It wasn't until you started talking
I
about cops, I realized how many times I actually burnt myself on those rolls of caps that they include. At one point, they were so plentiful in my house, I could open any drawer and find little red rolls of those. I used to take them like little pins and just race them right down and light them all off.
Yeah. There was also a little bit from action figures, but there was a game I used to love called Crossbows and Catapults, where you would set up your castle. You would kind of make it in any formation you want. They're kind of like big giant Lego blocks, and you would set up your castle, and you would set up your little men, and you would sit across from your foe, and you would shoot with real elastics. They would shoot like checker kind of chip things, and those hurt, man, because you're just shooting this catapult, and these things are flying everywhere. There's no aim to it. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just, I hope it hits your castle and knocks down some of it. But that game was a lot of fun.
I think the one toy that I recognized as immediately dangerous the second I got it out of the box was the TMNT pizza thrower. Now, this was a motorized thing where you loaded like 30 pizza discs in, much like there was a Masters equivalent. I think it's I want to say the Turbodactyl, but it's the red thing. It shot the same kind of discs. I forget it now. But I remember the pizzas specifically, you put it in, and when you pulled the trigger back on it, it sounded like you were firing like circular razor blades across the room, like buzzsaws. It sounded lethal. And I remember I could shoot it across my entire basement and still hit the wall with enough velocity that it would bounce back a good quarter of the way. So these things had zero issue knocking over foot soldiers, or I was worried about it cracking mirrors and stuff, to be honest, or pictures on the wall. But that thing was lethal.
Yeah, that thing was dangerous. I never had it, but I do remember it. Couple comments here. Right, you're right. The Berserkers in Thundercats were all dangerous. They were all hard because they were all mechanized in some way. So they weren't like a traditional figure. And King Kong Bundy, absolutely. He's the one that broke my ring. Most people I know who had the LJN ring had the split in the middle. It didn't, you could still use it, but it was cracked. And Bundy was the one who did that 100%.
So there is some data that I was able to research going into this episode because, of course, we've all had our experiences with toys gone awry. But I was curious about what actual statistics were out there and which toys were notably and infamous to cause some harm. So from 2017 to 2020, according to Tessa Clayton of Toy News, non-motorized scooters were found to be the most dangerous toys, followed by balls and then rubber balls.
Those metal scooters, I can see that. Balls, of course. Balls are
got dangerous balls. Watch out. Those balls are dangerous.
Mad balls, regular balls, rubber
Any
balls
will do.
Yeah,
triple balls.
Yeah.
Lone ball. They'll all do it.
Lone ball.
Lone ball. Triple ball. I've got some more stats though. Here are the 5, I guess, most dangerous toys from the last century, or noteworthy for the danger they caused.
Hammer Number 1.
Well, that's pretty much the first one. First one, lawn darts. Launched in 1970, the weighted 12-inch darts were responsible for sending 6,100 people to the emergency room over an 8-year period, 81% of which were 15 years old or younger. They were banned in 1988. So you've got a 12-inch metallic thing with a pointy end that you're supposed to throw at the lawn. And everybody, 81% of people that were hurt were 15 or under. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah,
I would say I think horseshoes are for older people at the time. Now people our age, but I think those were just as crazy, man. The big metal things.
Yeah, but anything with a point on it. I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it out there too while I'm thinking about it. And everyone in chat, I'm sure, can relate to just stepping on Lego. Like,
Yeah, but
ever
what
left
I've got
Lego
here
around, yeah.
is a little bit more like there's design flaws in the stuff that I've got listed here that is just a bad idea. Lego is just inadvertent ancillary damage, especially in the dark. The next one, the Gilbert the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. You know this is going to be great. Debuting in 1950, this set contained 4 kinds of uranium ore as well as radiation sources. It was discontinued in 1952.
Everyone's got to stop being such a wimp. Toys back then, they built character.
How are you going to go back in time unless you got a little your plutonium home kit?
A little bit of radiation in your toys never hurt anybody.
Come on. You want to hear about the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Here we go. It's called the Swing Wing. Now, you might not know what the Swing Wing is. It's fun to say. It hit shelves in 65, and it was similar to a hula hoop. Okay, you know, a hula hoop, you kind of gyrate on your hips and get the motion going.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Except you wear this on your head, and it resulted in some spinal injuries and worse. The product was soon recalled after hitting the shelves.
What about that Easy Bake Oven?
Didn't make the list, but you would think that a light bulb that had to stay plugged in for 5 hours to cook a little piece of dough would have resulted in a lot of burns.
Well, even just like the poor people who had to eat the stuff. It's like, you know, your friend cooks it for you for 50 days and then you have to eat this piece of Play-Doh.
Okay, here's another one, all right? This one you probably remember because I remember updated versions of it. This was called Clackers, okay? Clackers were launched in 1968. They consisted of 2 glass balls on a string that were clacked together, often leading to the glass shattering. By 1976, the Consumer Product Safety Commission declared them a mechanical hazard, and they were banned. Can you imagine that? 2 glass balls that were designed to smash together eventually smashed and broke, led to injuries.
Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, who would have not? Okay, and rounding out the top 5 most dangerous toys of all time. I don't know why this was a problem. You know, lump it in the same category as the Uranium Atomic Energy Lab. Just, I think, bad press. The Austin Magic Pistol, sold in the 1940s. The chemically reactive gun shot ping pongs. However, it was prone to explode. The toy is classified as a firearm in some U.S. states and was banned shortly after launching.
Wow. No Red Ryder.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just about to follow up. Did you ever have a toy that you wanted that your mom said, no, you'll shoot your eye out? Or something that was worried about it being dangerous?
No. Never. Nope. I had all the fake swords, the fake knives, the fake guns. Went out in the woods till nighttime, and I turned out just fine. It's up for debate. No, not really. I can't think of anything. I remember when we played Guns, the gun you had, though.
Oh, my goodness. But, you know, that was pretty dumb on my part. Let's be honest.
Why didn't you have like a race?
I don't know. I think I just wanted to. Okay, so we used to play a game, first of all, called Guns growing up, where we'd have plastic guns.
Original.
Yeah, we'd have plastic guns like pistols, like a Walther PPK, and we'd also have like Uzis, Uzi 9mm, and we would basically run around shooting, you know, the kids in the neighborhood. We'd all play, and we would stash guns underneath different bushes so that if you lost a gun because you got shot, because you had to drop the gun that was the rule, you could run around and find another gun, and then you were back in the game. I thought it would be a great idea to bring my Nintendo Light Zapper out from my NES, the great one, and go around shooting that. And when my grandma looked out the window and saw me playing with my Nintendo gun outside, boy, did I get an earful. She saw me from like 4 houses down going click, 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 click. Oh, I got an earful. And she was right. Why was I taking this gun outside? It wasn't going to work if I got it.
I don't remember you having any guns.
Like I had one from Disney World, but it was like an old like Western musket cap gun. But it wasn't like the plastic ones where you pull the trigger and go. Krrr, krrr. Wasn't as cool as that.
Interesting.
Not
Yeah,
by any
guns. That
stretch.
was the thing. I remember that. Bang! I got you. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Yes, I
You
did. No,
missed.
you didn't. Missed. What? What are you nuts? I was right in front of you. No, you missed. Forget it.
I can't
I'm
imagine.
not playing this anymore. I'm gonna go inside and play Tender Tapes.
Yeah, but I can't imagine now, like my kids saying, "Hey, Dad, we're going outside to play guns with the kids," because that's what I did. Like, what are you doing? We're going outside to play guns. It's just what we did.
But look at all the toys that we had. Every one of them, there was violence in every toy had guns. Every single one, right? Kind of makes me a little peeved at DC for banning guns on their action figures. Like, it's insulting. And it's really
you know the way around that though, right? That Todd McFarlane can do. I'm sure you've heard this.
No.
So he can't include guns anymore because DC and Warner Brother don't want them packed in, even with characters like was it Red Hood is an infamous character as of late, and was it Deathstroke is another one. Well, McFarlane can release gun packs, like accessory packs that have guns in them, but he just can't package them with the heroes so that they're not seen together. So he can release them. He can't have the DC logo.
I don't understand. I can't believe that DC actually thinks that these figures are for kids.
No, they say 12 plus on them.
They're all, but yeah, sure. But they're all, for the most part, based on stories that are very dark and very adult. What fun character, Flash maybe? What fun character have you seen that's all like happy, and they're all like dark and blah and blah.
The colors have all been desaturated. There's no fun in desaturated.
Oh, Daddy, you know what I want for Christmas? I want the Joker that killed Jason Todd. Yeah, that sounds like that's, a sentence that's gonna come.
Well, I can get it for you, but he'll have a crowbar covered in blood, just no gun.
So consequently,
no thanks.
The new Red Hood from the new video game, his hand is like this.
Yeah,
like, it's so silly, man. Just come on.
That's a new thing because I looked at my Mattel Red Hood that I got, and he's got the 2 guns in the holsters and everything. So,
and a few weeks ago, again, I was talking to our buddy Scott, and I got rid of most of my DC ones because I just buying miscellaneous ones. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I got rid of Red Hood. And he had the dual silver pistols, and now he's worth like $120. I'm like, of course he is.
Yeah, sounds about right. That's the curse of getting rid of stuff, isn't it? We had a controversy kind of spoil and inflate on Facebook, my friend. From time to time, we take pictures of the figures that we include in Action Figure Adventure Season 2 and other stuff. Or if we're just taking pictures because we got a new pickup, we'll post it. Or if you're doing a video, of course, you'll share your thumbnail. Get people excited. And I posted a picture of Kenner Superpowers Batman, which is the simple, innocent question. Is there a better Batman action figure? And I
didn't read the comments, so I guess people think there is.
Well, not necessarily. I would say that half the people that responded seem to agree that the Kenner Superpowers Batman was the best Batman figure of all time. But I was genuinely surprised. There he is. I was genuinely surprised by how many other people chimed in with different ideas. Can you guess what some of the other options were, Jay?
For Batman, it better not be the Toy Biz Michael Keaton Batman, because that one is awful. Now listen to me, everybody. This has nothing.
It may be the '89 Michael Keaton Toy Biz Batman as the best Batman figure.
Nothing to do with Tim Burton. This has nothing to do with Michael Keaton. This has nothing to do with that film. That film is legendary. This has to do with how poorly constructed it is when you compare it to the Kenner Superpowers. Now, people often say the Robin is exactly the same. It is not. No. It's the same mold-ish. If you hold them side by side, you can feel the difference. The Kenner one is a real action figure. The Toy Biz one feels like it's wax and covered in gloss.
The Toy Biz one is a bit taller. It is not nearly as tight at the joints for the Robin figure. They look very similar, but they are very different.
So if you look at the Kenner one again, this is the Batman that we grew up with, the blue and gray one, right? However, this is Super Friends Batman. This is the Adam West. This is the Bob Kane Batman. I will say that the Michael Keaton Batman is way cooler than any of those Batmans. I'll just go ahead and say that. For me, and I think for you, it's just he looks so great. He's chiseled. He's solid. The colors are fantastic. The cape sits perfectly. The little wire it has around the neck, you can take the cape off, no problem. Put it back on, no
Snaps
sweat.
on, perfect.
The Toy Biz ones, and we had the whole set. Bob the Goon, Joker, Penguin, all those awful superpowers,
Mr. Freeze,
ones
Riddler,
yeah,
Superman, Wonder Woman.
They broke. I remember Bob the Goon. We had 3 or 4 of that guy because he broke so easily. They were just cheap. And I could take this Batman right now and I could throw it against the wall. I guarantee you nothing will happen except
let's see,
maybe a bit of paint.
Let's see.
Here we go. See, he's fine.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So the stats, the results, the survey says, according to the survey, about a quarter of people chimed in that were outside the superpowers camp with the 89 Toy Biz one. And then there was basically a ton of varied 6-inch versions of Batman, from Mezco to DC Classics Ultimates for the Horseman designed, and various iterations. There's been no shortage of Batman. Combat Belt Batman was another one from the animated series in the early 90s as well. But here's the problem with that 89 Batman. First of all, there's like 3 or 4 different versions and sculpts on the figure. The head changed a lot. Second of all, like you said, very prone to breaking. Every time I've had a Batman and I've done any kind of play with that black 89 Batman, his knees always seem to break off. Third, that ridiculous utility belt grappling hook that isn't connected to anything in the film anywhere often snaps off or gets in the way of playtime, and you can't use it whatsoever.
I don't like his rounded chin too. It reminds me of like,
that's the first version. The other ones have a square chin, but like a triangle eye, like jawline. It again, lots of different variations. And the fourth thing I don't like about the 89 Batman is the cape frays so much more, and the wire on the collar tends to snap in a lot of the figures as well.
It's cheap knockoffs of the superpower design, and that is just the way it is. That I'm not saying that the Black Keaton Batman is inferior, but that toy is 100% inferior.
So I wish they made a
superpower one.
I was trying to think, why are people so defensive about this? And I thought, well, are they just wrong and they've just never actually held and played with the superpowers Batman? Or is it kind of like TMNT and Spider-Man and some of these other IPs where everybody just has their own Batman? You come into, Adam West, or you come into Keaton, or you come into Kilmer or Christian Bale, and that's your Batman, and that's the toy that you had growing up, so that's the best one. Or are they completely wrong and really uneducated because the superpowers Kenner Batman is truly the best Batman action figure?
I mean, I think a lot of it is what you grew up with. We grew up with the Bob Kane, Adam West Batman, right? And I'll be first to say that it's very hard for me to watch the Adam West show. Like, I love the McFarlane stuff that came out, but that show I didn't like the silliness of it, right? So when Batman went really, really dark in 89, we were all like, I don't know about this, but as soon as I got it, it was like, you can't go back. I can't go back to that campy style. But this blue one reminds me of a darker Batman. He's just got the Bob Kane original colors. Rhett, to answer your question, I didn't terrorize anyone with Joker because I didn't have superpowers Joker until last year. If you can believe that. I never owned one. But I would have.
Really?
Yeah, I never had him.
I'm surprised you never had that one growing up. That was a classic.
He just always eluded me for some reason. Yeah.
There's been a lot of figure announcements. Not that we're going to do a news section, but you have been quite vocal in your stance on not supporting anything new for G.I. Joe unless it's truly exceptional, like the Super 7 reaction stuff. And of course, as of late, G.I. Joe has announced with Super 7 their new Ultimate line, and it includes Storm Shadow. Are you picking Storm Shadow? Are you picking and choosing or leaving it on the shelf?
I will get Storm Shadow. Yeah.
Suede.
Well, it's like the Luke Skywalker thing, right? I'll get the one character. The reaction stuff, I will say, I did get 2 of them, and I did open the snake eyes, and I didn't like it. So,
I thought you weren't going to open the snake eyes. I thought you were just going to leave them in the package.
I did. I got a couple. I gave one to a friend, and I reviewed the other one. And I don't think I'm gonna get any more. I think they look great in the package, and I think that's what they're meant to do. What's the other one? The other line that's coming out from them. They have the Ultimates. Yeah. Snake Eyes looks cool. I don't know, man. That's one line they haven't beat vintage. I will say that the 95 and up Star Wars stuff is far superior to the original Kenner. I've always said that. I still feel that way. But G.I. Joe, nothing beats Real American Hero. It just doesn't.
Speaking of new stuff, Upstate Johnny wants to know what your thoughts are on the NECA Warduke figure that was announced last summer. Now, what's hilarious about this, before we get to your answer, we were recording season 2 of the Jay and Rob Toy Show. We literally wrapped production, and we talked about one episode, I think it was episode 7, talked about lesser known lines and forgotten toy lines that haven't got reboots. And we highlighted Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and how it was ripe for a comeback, but it just seems to be lost in time. And literally the day or the day after the day that we wrapped, NECA announces those 2 figures from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So with that, I know we're 6 months behind. What are your thoughts on Warduke?
He looks great. It's Warduke and Grimsword are in. I don't even know if you want to call it a wave. There's 2 figures. Again, one, I'll say I'm skeptical because to invest in a line, I need to see some kind of future. I don't really understand the rhyme or reason of this other than Mythic Legions killing it. So this is like, hey, we can do some medieval guys too. Let's get some licensed characters. Warduke is one of my favorite figures. He's in the top 5 of my entire life. So of course I'm going to pick that one up. And I will say it's justified because there hasn't been anything. I think there's been a bust here or there, maybe a little statue.
Yeah.
But even the loose figure, well, I wouldn't call him necessarily rare. You don't really ever find him much. You can get him. He's accessible if you want to get him on eBay. No problem. He's like $30. But finding him in toy stores and that, you don't really see D&D stuff.
That's interesting, though. But I'm surprised that you even went as far as to say, for you to invest in a line, you got to see some future in it. When clearly, I think the last 6 episodes, we've been preaching pick and choose for the sake of wallets, for the sake of what you like, for the sake of what means to you. Like with Storm Shadow on the G.I. Joe Ultimates from Super 7, you're just literally grabbing that figure. Are you getting Cobra Commander or Duke or anybody else?
Well, famous last words. I say no now.
Until it's in hand and you had a chance to look at it up close.
I have such a weakness for G.I. Joe. It's not even funny. And I have no doubt that in the future, very soon, I'll have them in my hands. But money. How should I say this stuff's getting really expensive, and these guys will be $60 a pop. Right. So like you just said, you're right. We do have to pick and choose. Storm Shadow is a must. Warduke is a must because I have personal connections with those characters and with those toys. So I would like a really cool updated version of Storm Shadow 1 and of Warduke and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, a Duke, we just got a Duke in the classified. I don't really feel justified in the Storm Shadow. As of the recording of this broadcast, the classified version 1 Storm Shadow has not been released, so he's not out yet. But I feel like the Storm Shadow we got in classified is this weird hipster version 3 version for no other reason than being weird and hipster, and for them to save the first one for down the line or down the road.
Yeah. A lot of people are chiming in with other thoughts and other lines and stuff as well. There's a lot of Masters news, of course, that have come out across all their lines. Masterverse, Origins. I think there was some mini news. Everybody seems to be really divided on that camp too. Just too much too soon. Are you still sticking to everything that is Masterverse or just everything Masterverse Revelation?
Well, I mean, that is my spotlight. Is the last piece for that.
Okay, well, let's save it then.
Yeah, I'll get into that when we do spotlights, but yeah, we'll save it for that. I'll give you my thoughts on that. Yeah.
People are asking here specifically, where was it? Hexcalibur wants to know what your thoughts are on the classic retro Playmates TMNT stuff that are on Big Bad Toy Store. Have you seen these listings, Jay?
I have, yeah.
Again, the
And
88 molds dumped
yeah.
on there again. Party Van and Blimp, although the Blimp is a
Yeah.
weird hybrid. Are you on board with any of this stuff?
No, I'm not a turtle guy.
Yeah.
I've stated many times. It's just, for me, I like the first few issues of the cartoon. I like the more serious when they'll have red bandanas. I like the first mini series of the cartoon, and I like the first live action movie. That's about as far as it goes. I've tried. It's just really silly for me, and I'm not saying that it's bad if you like turtles. Just for me, that's all. I know you're aboard though with that stuff, right?
No, not. It's I've talked to Frank Allen, our good friend from Toy Power Podcast that we mentioned, and he said the plastic is completely different than the original stuff. It's much cheaper. The Blimp is a weird hybrid. It's not worth it. The Turtle Van is pretty much accurate to what it was in the 88. Again, probably some material changes, but I don't have a need for them. I have the reissues from 2014. Those were kind of hard to find down the rabbit hole specifically, so I'm kind of good.
You know what? I'm going to stick up, if I may, for the toy companies a little bit. And, we tend to forget that we are the age we are, and that there's new generations coming into this hobby that never had a chance to get even the 2014 re-releases, right? So
yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. And I think for them to be $20, I think it's great, but I'm good.
I am too. Yeah. I have a really great collection of the first couple waves of NECA Turtles, both movie and cartoon. I'm looking at them now, and I have the first wave of the Playmates stuff, and I'm satisfied with that completely.
I'll be completely honest. I did feel the pull to grab some of the original Turtles just to have their weapons completely full and intact, because those Michelangelo nunchucks, they break all the time. I think my rack is missing a sai.
Or the nunchucks have the white stress mark and the chain.
So for $20 to pick up that entire weapons rack and be able to give my kids like a Michelangelo or something like that to play with.
But then you got to bring yourself to pull the scissors out and cut it off the tree. And
that's easy.
It's so beautiful. I can't break that tree.
No, I'll break it without question. It'll get broken.
Without having kids or taking that out of the equation, just as an adult collector, I would just go for the vintage at that point. And I only got my Playmates Turtles maybe 3 years ago. I think the first season we shot.
Yeah.
Because again, they went the wayside when I grew up and stuff like that. When I grew up, and I got the originals, and I'm completely happy with that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's an affordable way to get the original 4 Turtles the way that, for the most part, they were meant to be. So go for it.
And it's easy, affordable way to get those weapons, because you'll never know the difference on the weapons from the original ones for these reissues. So. And that's what kind of keeps the value down of the vintage Turtles too when they're loose, because there's been so many knockoffs. It's hard to tell. A couple things that we can do to round out before we get to action figure spotlight. You can rank some Mego figures here. You can kind of dissect what you like about them and pick your favorite from the ones that I've got. Or we can talk about a really unique toy store that we've come across that is more or less part of season 2 of Action Figure Adventure. Not that it was part of your journey, but kind of part of the family. You want to talk about a unique toy store, or do you want to talk about some Mego figures that you get to explore?
I would say unique toy store.
Okay, so in Allen, Texas, which is a little bit north of Dallas, Texas, there's a store called Elm Street Toys, and we interviewed the owner, Mike, for Action Figure Adventure Season 2. We had our good friends Nathan and Cindy go down and interview with him. He was one of the very first interviews, actually. He's a huge Batman animated series collector. He's got to have every iteration, every version of that. But his store, Elm Street Toys, is a complete horror-themed store. Right? So the entire store has horror-themed everything, like bath bombs that are horror-themed, chewing gum, knickknacks, and, of course, tons of action figures from what I've been able to see. Cindy and Nathan swear by it. It's worth a 45-minute trip for them to go check it out on almost at least a weekly, or at least every couple of weeks, to see what they got in stock, vintage and new stuff, of course. And I thought that's a really cool idea for a store, and it's not something that you see that often, because usually there's maybe just a horror section lumped into a bigger comic and tabletop or figure store, because everything kind of gets merged now. But I wanted to ask you, What other kind of genres or subgenres do you think could justify an entire store experience? I mean, horror is honestly like a no-brainer.
We experienced, and I won't name specific stores to specific brands, but we definitely came across stores that you could tell that the owner was a fan of G.I. Joe. The owner was a fan of Transformers because that's what stood out and that's what had the most attention. Horror would be.
So in that case, you could do like a store that's nothing but like giant robots everywhere, whether it's Voltron or Transformers or GoBots or Cyborgs or $6 Million Man. And G.I. Joe would be like a military kind of action figure store. Is that what
I would really like to see a 70s sci-fi store that not only catered to.
You just want to knock off items on your Buck Rogers list.
Oh, I'm done. I've won that game now. But yeah, I really want to see that obscure Mego stuff, the Buck Rogers, the Star Trek, all that earlier Star Wars stuff. I would like to see a 70s themed comic book store. I think that would be great.
Well, Star Wars is hard, right? Because you do get lots of figures that come out.
Battlestar Galactica, yeah. I mean, you could have a lot of great
Space 1999. Is that another big one? And then got lots of stuff there. Anything basically pre 1980 that's sci-fi would be really interesting.
You could even do a 1980s like science fiction barbarian theme, which, you know, obviously He-Man will be at the top of that, but you could have Conan,
Lord of the Rings,
Red Sonja, Lord of the Rings, Excalibur, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that would be really cool too, to see that.
Yeah, those are good ideas. I don't think any of them are quite as good as a horror shop, because I think a horror is just so universal to everybody. I think fantasy can divide people, but everybody has watched a horror movie. Everybody can connect to that first experience watching the thing that scared them.
Yeah, there's a lot of great horror figures, and as we often talk about our introduction back into collecting toys, which of course was thanks to Todd McFarlane and his movie Maniacs. That stuff was fantastic, and I would love to. I actually love to go to that store in Texas and check that out, because I love horror stuff, man. So anything Reanimator would be cool.
Yeah, it's on my list to visit. Danny, just chime in with the obvious answer: a Captain Power store. Nothing but Captain Power.
Oh, please no.
You have to say power on just to have the door open. Captain Power, Captain Power, Captain Power. You got to like shoot your way through to get to the cash register.
But you're not allowed to dodge. You just got to take the hits.
Yeah, that's right. Michael Mercy is chiming in with a valid point. It's something that we discovered 2 years ago while filming season 1 of Action Figure Adventure. He says, "Hey guys, I'd love to see a 70s shop, but it's getting harder to even find 80s now. Most of the stuff I see in vintage shops is from the 90s. And this is that 30-year curse.
Yeah.
You know, it's that 30-year curse where everything from about 30 years earlier than the present date is what you get to see in most of these shops, because it's kids that 25 to 30 that are selling their toys. And that's what ends up.
And I don't think it's, scalpers or anything like that, why this stuff's getting harder to find. I think we're just enjoying having it in our collections. You know, we're just hanging on to this stuff. Because I find it harder and harder to find, like G.I. Joe is getting really scarce out there. It's really drying up. I mean, try to find.
Because you keep buying it.
Because I keep buying it. Yeah, London's dry because of me. Just trying to buy like a Cobra Officer or something like that is, not to mention
what. Like all you got to do is go to Target in 1985.
No, I mean an actual Cobra Officer.
Like from Cobra Island, right?
The cool an 83. No, Meldo update. What are you talking about? Nothing ever happened.
It says Meldo upstate. I don't know what that means. I think he's trying to type Meldo update. Give us a Meldo update. Meldo is dead and gone. Don't say the name 3 times or we're done.
Michael, I like your Sectors only store. That store would be open for business for one day and it would be closed. Unfortunately, that would be great though.
Yeah, there'd be one hive. It would be gone. Collectors would be fighting over it in the parking lot, and then everybody else would fly off with their little.
There would be a death match for the hive, and then
that'd be pretty much it. Let's get to Action Figure Spotlight. You want to go first? You kind of tipped your hat to some sort of revelation in the Masters of the Universe Friday.
Yeah. So Michael's here, and we had a great show with him last Friday on his channel where we talked about completing, something that Rob and I have talked about quite a bit, where, a lot of people don't feel complete unless they have the whole set. And I said to myself, I'm a big fan of Revelation. I really like all the new characters, I like the new art design, I like the new stories. I'm going to finish the line. This isn't anything that's super rare. This is my legendary trip to Toys R Us, which you guys have all heard about my Cobb Vanth story, so I'm not going to beat that into the ground. But I really wanted Orko. Where is he? Here. And of course, they make you buy Savage He-Man, where he's not really savage at all because he should be big as the Hulk, but he's just really just He-Man without his armor. I get it. They want
He
you to
looks like
spend the money.
Kazar from Marvel. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Savage guy. That's who he
They
looks
want
like.
you to buy, another figure to get Orko. I get it. So this one right here, and I'm a big Henry Rollins fan. I saw Triclops, and he was sitting right beside this for $46.99. Now here we go. The old school guy is going to complain about prices again. He's the last figure I need for Revelation, and I couldn't do it.
Well, you should do it, because when season 2 gets announced, my friend, I'm sure that figure is going to be much harder to find, and you're going to want it to get ready for those figures.
It's not really, that's not what I mean. It's not that I don't want him because I didn't like the character. I can't justify the $46.99 for one figure that they did the Cobb Vanth for. They spread out the accessories. So
I say get over it and don't buy something else, because this is the last figure you need. This is the only Masters of the Universe stuff that you're collecting. When they announce season 2, he's going to be a pivotal role in it because of where that show ended. And if you're not going to find it, you're not going to want to pay those eBay prices, which is what's going to happen, because they're going to disappear.
And that's fine. I'm not paying. I'll wait until he goes on clearance, because there's a ton of him and there's a ton of this Orko there. And
then why didn't you wait for the Orko then?
Where you get 2 figures for that. That I don't mind. But Triclops, it's just him and a different outfit and a couple of accessories. And
right, but if this is about price, why would you pay for Savage He-Man and Orko if they have a ton of those as well? Why wouldn't you just?
Because I wanted the Orko is my favorite in the show.
Oh,
so he's the one I've wanted the whole time. And then they, I get it. I guess maybe because he's a smaller character, so they didn't want to charge a full price. So they almost put him with Savage He-Man like he's an accessory almost. But I really wanted that character. But my point is, even one figure away to complete the set for a few months at least, and I can't do it because I'm just tired of paying these crazy prices. So there you go. That's my story. And a Triclops will forever elude me, but that's okay.
I think you got to let it go. And I think you got to pick your battles. But you know what? If that's what you believe, stick to those guns, my friend.
I did. I am picking my battles. That's why I finally just said no. It's like, no, I'm not going to pay that. When it doesn't make you feel good inside when you're holding
I haven't felt good inside for a long time. So I don't know what that feeling is anymore.
You got to put your foot down after a while and just say no.
I lost what it felt like to feel good inside, which brings me to my action figure spotlight this week. And this comes from the Toonie Terror line, which ties into our horror store that we talked about, Elm Street Toys. And Nathan and Cindy were able to get me some figures for Christmas time. But I was able to get this way from Big Bad Toy Store. And that, of course, is Beetlejuice. Now, Beetlejuice, of course, has ghosts, and it is supernatural and everything. But Toonie Terrors to me is starting to really jump the shark, where they're starting to go into anything that is remotely horror and supernatural and almost downright comedic for the sake of longevity of the line, instead of just sticking to the core iconic figures and calling it a day. Of course, their business, they want to make money. But again, this figure in particular, look at the arch on that back. He's not going to stand up straight like most of the Toonie Terrors don't. They come with these quarter-size stands that stick to the feet that actually inhibit them from standing up more. They make them fall over a lot easier. There's no accessories whatsoever. And now these are going for an absurd amount of money, like over $20 each. No accessories.
Oh, yeah.
Sculpting is poor. The paint job is not great, but it's Beetlejuice. So, you got to buy it. It's part of the wave. You got to get them all.
Nope, you don't. You don't, man. Do they have Herbert West for that?
They do.
Seriously,
do.
I thought they did.
do.
Yeah, okay.
And
I'd probably
again,
get that if I saw it. Yeah.
and again, a figure that does not stand up well, you actually have to physically push the other foot because only one foot has a peg hole for the stand, and the other foot actually goes underneath it, so it doesn't fit. And the syringe that it comes with is so small that if you take a footstep, 10 feet near the figure, it drops out of his hand. Because we all want figures that can hold their accessories, right? This one checks that box.
One of the big draws of that line in particular, I remember, was the low price point. And now, if you're saying they're going up, I mean that's not so exciting anymore. How's it?
I remember the Jaws box set was like the big one because it's the shark, and I think is it Brody or Quint that's with him.
Yeah.
And it was like $30. It's like, okay, everything else is 15. This one makes sense that it's bigger. But now it's like they got the Sanders sisters from Hocus Pocus. That's $39. There's 3 of them, so I guess you can justify that. But there's nothing to them, and the sculpt and the paint apps are not that great. Again, no articulation. They're essentially plastic statues that don't stand. And then they have the kids from Trick or Treat. Again, 3 of them. Not that great. Maybe just an alternative to the other NECA horror stuff that's coming out that is better and more expensive. It doesn't feel like a toy. That's the problem with this stuff.
That looks like one of those,
a bath toy.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of those like Happy Meal toys or something, right? Like unarticulated kind of. Yeah.
You know what? I would wager that we got better toys from Happy Meals during our heyday of Mayor McCheese and Constable Mac than we're getting with some of the stuff that we're spending $25 on easily.
Well, that's our love-hate with NECA, right? I mean, they're such a great...
It's not just NECA though.
They're a great toy company, but they have some really weird design decisions that they've made, and that's one of them.
Yeah. So that's the action figure spotlight, everyone. Sorry.
we were saying, I'm like, man, you know what? I got some really cool loose Marvel Legends this week that I think are cool. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to be exciting. Hold up, old Night Thrasher from New Warriors. Everyone's going to be like, okay, that came out like in 2015. So I don't show Riddler. That's the new Riddler. Yeah. Oh God,
that's where we're at. I was telling Jay that this is the first week I don't have anything new that's come in the mail. So we've recorded like 20 episodes since we started back up again with the live stream, and this is the very first week that I haven't had any new figures, and that I had to actually start looking for, of course, something that's still sealed that I haven't paid attention to, that's still covered in dust, to showcase you folks. And I found something, but what am I going to do next week, Jay? I'm going to have to buy in order to show the dollies to everybody. I got to assert myself in the dolly community, the shelf community.
Yeah, grab something off that shelf back there next time. Just show.
Here you go. Here's an ET converter figure, which is below GoBots. Do you remember converters?
Yeah, those are hugely popular in the Transformers community, as I just found out, because I believe, I might be mistaken, but I believe they're Canadian only.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah,
that's what I think about that. Transformers fans, what are you gonna do when Rob drops a toy? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do,
dude? Those converters, like the superpowers, you can just whip against the wall. They're gonna be just fine.
You don't want to know what my daughter has done to this. The collecting community would like cry foul and like probably try to like burn my house down in order to steal the converters that I have here. They just, the abuse that goes on to toys with playtime around here. Yes. But that's what fun is about, right? Having fun.
Yes, Jamie, they're from McDonald's back in the day. Yeah, I guess in like the hardcore Transformers community. So I found out, like I just said, they're really collectible, because us as Canadians, we got flooded with those things. I remember I had so many of those. They were, the knockoff Transformers. We didn't want them, but to other countries that never got them, they're very collectible. Isn't that crazy?
Interesting. We didn't like the tri-language stuff that we always got to compared to the American packaging, but
yeah,
Americans love that foreign variant packaging, like our Wind Raider.
But
that'll do it.
Oh, hang on. I think Servius is alluding to the HasLab box that you have not opened.
Oh, this thing over here?
Yeah,
that's
what's
just a doorstop. It's holding up the table of Snake Mountain. That's what it's good for at this point.
Okay, sorry, outro.
Yeah, we're done for the show. See you, everybody. We end this. Jay, where can people find you for more of your hijinks? Tell them all the regular spots.
Check me out on YouTube. Again, thank you to everybody in the chat. There's a lot of people who watch my videos on YouTube. And I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun to make them for you. And it seems as time goes on, I'm getting less and less serious, which is good because that's my nature. And you guys seem to be enjoying my sense of warped humor. So thank you. I appreciate it.
I legitimately forgot about that box that's back there.
I still don't want it.
So thanks, Severus. I'm so glad that I plunked down the 500 US for that, or this one over here, this Sentinel thing that I also forget about all the time. What am I doing with my life, Jay? I'm just trying to keep up with the race. You can find me on Twitter at Rob McZob, on Instagram at Action Figure Adventure, at the Jay and Rob Toy Show there as well, and on YouTube. Squishing your head. I'm squishing your head.
Don't do that ever again.
Thanks for checking out all the new videos that I'm putting up, and I really hope people check out the real Nintendo Quest.
Bootleg Nintendo Quest.
Soon. You know what? Everybody can have fun cutting their own version together with the footage I release. Go for it. I'm good. Jay, we end every episode vaguely with the same more or less catchphrase that always gets screwed up. Love of toys and the warmth of scars. Take care of yourselves.
And each other and your Triclops.
Because the best time of day, Jay, is
when you just say no.
Yes. When you just say yes and buy the thing on the shelf to make yourself feel good and put it, you take it from one shelf, you pay some money, and you put it on another shelf. That's how you fill your heart with happiness.
The whole life of modern toys, from factory to ownership, is just one shelf to another. Think about how sad that is.
That's the name of our new show, Shelf to Shelf with Jay and Rob. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.